In Delhi, the big problem is between the Congress and the Aam Aadmi Party. The Congress in Delhi believes that it was laid low by the Aam Aadmi Party, blames it squarely for what has happened here. Punjab is another state where there is a real issue between these two parties. The third state where constituents of the India Alliance are really going to find it difficult to arrive at some sort of arrangement is West Bengal. The Congress and the Communists in Kerala are completely opposed to each other, and it's very unlikely that they will be able to strike some kind of compromise. It did make a little bit of a dent, and it's unlikely that that party is going to take a step back in Goa. A lot of news headlines this week have been occupied by a fight between the Congress and the Aam Aadmi Party over Delhi, and it's interesting to look at what's really happening, because if you look at the fight, it's actually between fairly minor leaders in the Congress and equally minor leaders in AAP, and this is bound to happen when local leaders, and in the case of Congress it's Delhi leaders, are looking at what it means for their own future and sounding off, and the unfortunate thing in this day and age is anyone who sounds off often ends up getting a platform in which their views can be heard. It's also interesting because the national leadership of either of the parties hasn't really commented on this. They could, but I don't think talks of the India Alliance have reached a stage where parties are going to openly talk about seat sharing and things like that. Although, to be fair, it will be really interesting to see what happens in Delhi. And the reason it will be interesting to see what happens in Delhi is because Delhi is one of what I'd like to think of as four flashpoint states/union territories. Could be five, but more likely four, and I'll tell you why it could be five, where the India Alliance is going to have a problem in reconciling the diverging ambitions and aspirations of its constituents. In Delhi, the big problem is between the Congress and the Aam Aadmi Party. The Congress in Delhi believes that it was laid low by the Aam Aadmi Party, blames it squarely for what has happened here, and it's very difficult to have local leaders of these two parties work together. They keep sniping at each other all the time. In Punjab again, the Congress believes it lost because of the Aam Aadmi Party, that it could have come back to power possibly without the Aam Aadmi Party being there. But given the sweep of Aam Aadmi Party's victory in the last assembly election, I don't think the Congress is entirely justified in this grouse. But be that as it may, Punjab is another state where there is a real issue between these two parties. The third state where constituents of the India Alliance are really going to find it difficult to arrive at some sort of arrangement is West Bengal, where you have the TMC on one side and you have the Congress and the Communists on the other. The Congress and the Communists don't really seem to have a problem working with each other, but neither of them wants to work with the TMC. The TMC is actually a very strong constituent of the India Alliance. West Bengal is a key state given the number of people it sends to parliament, and there has to be some sort of reconciliation that happens in that state, but it looks extremely unlikely at this point in time. The fourth state where there could be a problem is Kerala, where you have the communist-led front and the Congress-led front, who pretty much have dominated politics in the state for decades. Unlike West Bengal, where they work together, the Congress and the Communists in Kerala are completely opposed to each other, and it's very unlikely that they will be able to strike some kind of compromise. Before I come to the fifth state, there is a very important caveat. Elections are rarely mathematical exercises. And the example that all of us need to think of when we think of this is simply Uttar Pradesh, where an alliance between the Samajwadi Party and the Bahujan Samaj Party managed to do pretty much nothing, right? It was supposed to lay low the BJP, but it didn't really happen, and this is because of transfer of votes. Now there is a theory that if members of the India alliance arrive at some sort of settlement in West Bengal, it could actually end up helping the BJP rather than improving their own chances. And that could well happen, depending on the ability of these parties to transfer votes to each other. And if there are any imperfections or inefficiencies in that, it will obviously end up benefiting the opposition, which in this case is the BJP. The fifth state, which is a possible flashpoint, and I didn't mention it along with the others because it's not at the same magnitude as the others, is really Goa. Because the Aam Aadmi Party last time did field candidates in Goa in the assembly election. Then the party didn't win as many seats as it would wanted to win, but its candidates didn't perform too badly. TMC also did, but I'm not so sure that the TMC was. The TMC may have been serious about its foray into Goa, but I don't think the Goans were serious about the TMC's foray into their state. But AAP did make a little bit of a dent, and it's unlikely that that party is going to take a step back in Goa. So all of this obviously makes the next meeting of the India Alliance in Bombay extremely interesting. That is when the coordination committee is going to be announced, and one should look at who the leaders from each one of the main parties is there, who they pick as members of this coordination committee. A few other committees are likely to be set up to look at important issues that face the alliance. I'm not convinced that they're going to start talking about seat sharing at this point in time, although that is something that they will start looking at. And clearly the way to arrive at a settlement is going to be to try and see whether aspirations that a party has in a certain state can be balanced with potential aspirations in some other state. And again, the classic example that we should think of is AAP, which is there in power in Delhi and Punjab, but clearly has some sort of aspirations when it comes to Haryana, clearly has some sort of aspiration when it comes to Goa. So is there a way for other constituents like the Congress to use this and balance things out in a much more pan-Indian way? Either way, it is going to be an interesting time for the alliance. I'm not even going to speak about leadership, because the re-entry of Rahul Gandhi in parliament is seen by some as a flashpoint for the alliance. I'm not convinced that it is a flashpoint for the alliance just yet, because the road is far too long for anyone to start thinking in terms of leadership of the alliance at this point in time. But the coming together of this grouping or the evolution of this grouping will again be something interesting to watch.